I'd like to welcome you to the Springfield Township Board of Trustee meeting. Today is July the 15th, 2015. And I'd like to begin first with the roll call, Mr. Bernie.
I do have questions. Is this for the special meeting for the solid waste or the actual?
Well, we're going to have a public hearing, and the first point of discussion will be regarding the solid waste.
Solid waste, okay, great.
Yes, and then the second discussion will be on the tax budget.
Great, I just got to mark these up and I just wondered.
That's fine.
Mr. Bernie? Present. Mr. Honolo? Present. Ms. McFarland?
Present.
All trustees are present.
Okay. And then, I'd like everyone to stand with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mr. Gilbert, can you lead us, please?
And I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as indicated earlier, we are also having our public hearing this evening. And the first item for discussion regarding the public hearing will be on our solid waste contractual proposal. And this is the second hearing in which we're going to be discussing the solid waste, which is a requirement. And so, Chris, Mr. Gilbert, if you can lead us, please, and we'll open discussion regarding the solid waste joint contract proposal.
I can't thank you, Mr. McFarland. As you mentioned, this is our second hearing regarding this proposal since we actually received the bids. We did have a meeting, a third meeting, previous to actually going out and soliciting for bids. So this technically would be our third meeting, but our actual second meeting since receiving the bids. For those who have seen this before or are already aware of what we're doing, I'll go through this rather quickly. If you have any questions, please stop me, or obviously we'll have time at the end to answer any questions with that. I guess initially, just so everyone's information, the three communities that went out and solicited bids from waste haulers were Coleraine, obviously us, and Ross Township. And this is the section of the Ohio Revised Code that authorizes townships to go out and actually contract with solid waste haulers on behalf of township residents. The request for proposal, the benefits, according to the Hamilton County Solid Waste District and others that have done this in the past, it provides communities lower costs for garbage recycling services, potentially, creates greater accountability over the surcharge fees. It increases community recycling, at least the results have been that since communities have contracted with a solid waste hauler, and it provides greater accountability to residents in terms of, you have an advocate that can ensure that certain things that the waste hauler is responsible for, they actually do. Some of the negatives, obviously, are that it prevents residents from choosing their own waste hauler. Once we contract with a single provider, residents must use that provider. Residents cannot opt out unless under very specific circumstances. The discontinuance of agreements that residents already have with waste haulers obviously will happen once we enter into a particular agreement with a sole provider. And then this particular bid limits bulk items to one item per month. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. The timeline was that we issued the RFP out to waste haulers this spring. The results came in on May 19th. The contracts will have to be awarded by mid-August if we choose to actually move forward with a contract. And then the implementation date, I can't talk to you, would be April of 2016. We mentioned that it's Coleraine, Springfield, and Ross Townships. Currently, these are average rates. Springfield Township residents currently are paying roughly $20.79 per month for garbage pickup. That's unlimited garbage pickup. And then recycling services are on average about $2.50 per month for township residents. And those rates do exclude surcharges and other fees that are associated with the residents' bill. The actual agreement or the proposal before the board this evening is for garbage, recycling, yard waste, and bulk items for one per month. The way the bid was structured was that the default service or the base service would be unlimited garbage collection, which will not exceed, cans shall not exceed 40 pounds each, but you can put unlimited cans out, or bags for that matter. It would be weekly collection. Then the recycling collection would be obviously weekly, and then every resident would get a 65-gallon recycling container as part of the base fee bid. There are optional discount services, which would be limited to a 96-gallon garbage cart. If you chose the minimal service or the limited service, you would be restricted to whatever you can fit into that can that's provided, a 96-gallon can. You would also, at the same time, get a 65-gallon recycling container as well. Included in that, as we mentioned, would be one bulk item per month. They do allow backyard service for those individuals that request it at an additional fee, but if you have a demonstrated disability need through the ADA, they can provide that service to you at no charge. There are restrictions to that. This bid also restricts the hours of pickup between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. within residential subdivisions. The waste hauler will bill all residents directly. So from a resident perspective, they wouldn't see any difference than what's happening now with particular bills. The waste hauler will send the invoice directly to them. And all the same restrictions apply and issues apply, late fees and things of that nature that you may see on your current bill. The exemptions for people that may be able to opt out, obviously, some of these are probably more applicable to Colerain and Ross Townships because they do have farms and they have the other legal means to dispose of waste. So some working farms can opt out, as well as if an employer provides disposal outlet for a particular employee and the resident can verify that, then they can opt out if they're able to take the waste to their actual employer. And the base fee is a fixed at time of bid, meaning no other environmental fees or surcharges will apply. Fuel cost adjustment, this is one thing we talk about when in reference to accountability. Right now, a particular resident with a contract with waste hauler really has no control over how they use surcharges or fuel surcharges and fees. This will create a formula by which we can control how those surcharges and fees are established. And the first bid for the first year actually includes that in it, so there would be additional fees beyond that. In future years, those fees could be slightly adjusted based on our formula that we've established. Obviously, everyone is probably familiar with what are acceptable recyclable materials. Benefits of recycling, we know what those are, but in addition, Springfield Township currently is about 8% recycling rate per actual waste that's disposed of. They say when a community goes to an actual contract with waste hauler, they can go up to as much as 30 or 40%. The bid results, we actually received bids from Rumpke, Bestway, and Republic. The lowest bidder was Rumpke. I know these are difficult to see, but essentially what it's showing is that the base unlimited price, which is unlimited garbage collection and recycling services in one bulk item per month, came to be for the 2016-2017 year, $16.20 a month, which reflects a little over $7 a month savings beyond the average price that residents are currently being charged. Again, that's an average price that we're comparing it against, so some people may be a little higher, some people may be a little lower, but on average it looks like it's going to be between $85 and $90 annual savings for residents by going with the bid, the lowest bidder, which was Rumpke. The actual limited service that we spoke of, which is actually one 95-gallon container and one 65-gallon recycling container, if you can manage to include all of your waste within those two containers per month, your cost will be as low as $12.95 per month. So that's a significant savings beyond what some people are currently paying. The next steps would be that the Board of Trustees would have to make this decision no later than August 15th according to the bid specifications that were issued. And again, if we're awarded the contract, will start April 2016. Obviously, some of the benefits that we didn't know would be prior bidding is that probably 90-95% of the townships currently using Rumpke. Being that Rumpke is the lowest bidder, really the only difference that residents would see, hopefully, would be a bill that's significantly lower than they're paying now. So that concludes the presentation. I know we'll do that quickly, being that this is the second public hearing, but obviously we'd be happy to entertain any questions at this time.
Well, Chris, the other difference is that they would, residents would be getting a recycling bin that they're not getting now, that big one.
Right, so right now, they're paying almost $20 on average for just garbage. Whereas under this contract, you could be paying $16 for garbage and recycling, or even as low as $13 a month for garbage and recycling if you go to the limited service.
Right.
So more service for less money.
Limited service, they give you the 95-gallon can.
Correct.
That you pay.
Yes. And in another situation, if you don't take the limited service, the actual garbage can, the unlimited, is an additional $2.50 a month. If you don't have to use your can, but if you want to.
I know, as I stated in our earlier meeting last month, I think the biggest, the best news is the fact that we're going to be saving our residents $7.09 a month. And
At a minimum.
at a minimum, exactly. And I had concerns initially regarding if it was only save us $2 to $3 was it even worthwhile. But I think that's a good savings, a costly savings for the residents here in our township. So I think that's a good thing for us. I appreciate all the work that you've done and the rest of the group in bringing this opportunity to the residents here in Springfield Township. Any other thoughts, gentlemen?
No, I mean, I agree, it's saving only 30%.
Do we have any comments from the audience or any questions? Yes. Yes, could you step to the podium, please?
I do have a couple of comments or questions. The opt-out, you're saying only if your employer allows you to?
Right. Residents generally wouldn't be allowed to opt out unless they meet certain specifications that are outlined in the bid. If you're a working farm where you have other legal means to dispose of the waste, and again, I guess I was remiss in indicating, this only applies to residential dwelling units, 4 units or less. So single family or multifamily, no more than 4 units, this would apply to. So, or if you have an employer who allows you to dispose of their waste at their site, then you can opt out. But otherwise, no, you'd be required to participate in the program.
So you're actually saying that unless you have your employer, you are required to sign up for this and pay for it?
Yes, I'm assuming all residents have garbage collection now anyway, or at least they should.
Well, yes and no. There's a couple of different circumstances that I'm aware of where people are not putting their garbage out or they're sharing with a neighbor and things like that.
Yeah, and in order to actually receive bids in this manner, receive the bids that were, I guess, so favorable financially, the waste hauler is going to require that it be sort of an all-in situation that all residents are being required to participate. Otherwise, you're not going to get as bid as favorable as what you see in these.
The other concern I have, and probably because we live in the condos, these sizes of garbage cans are huge. Some people have very small garages and some have no garages.
Right.
So that becomes an issue as far as where that's going to be stored.
Well, as I said, if you choose the unlimited service, you don't have to utilize a Rumpke garbage can. You can utilize any waste can that you want. If you choose the limited service, you will be provided 96-gallon part by Rumpke. However, I'm sure that we can work out an issue where you can actually get a smaller Rumpke part if you choose. I don't think that they're going to require people to have a 96-gallon if you only want a 65-gallon per se. But then you are limited to whatever you can fit within that smaller can if you choose the limited service.
And the other question I have, since we've got the recycling here, which I know I use,
Okay.
and from what the reports I've read, is used a lot. Is this going to continue? Because it won't be necessary if you have the recycling.
You're absolutely right. I think, and I don't have to talk to the board about it, but I think the idea would be that we would reduce what we have on site, maybe down to 1, 2 at the most dumpsters, because I guess you're right that it would tell you that if we have recycling containers, most people will do that in the curb as opposed to bringing it here. So, yeah, the idea would that we would reduce these.
You make a good point. And one other thing, I mean, we're probably, I think we're at about 9% recycling right now. And we believe that with the larger cans that the residents will have, it's probably based on other communities, it'll probably go up somewhere around 30%. So the recycling is going to probably triple at least in what we're doing right now. So we will reduce what's out there, but we won't get rid of it.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes. Gentleman in the front row and then the gentleman in the back. Follow him.
Jim Faber. Is the decision of, with regards to unlimited versus the
Reducer.
Limited.
reduced, is that an annual decision that has to be made, or is that something that can you change that at some point during the year? Or
You can change.
okay.
Gentleman, yes.
My name is Gary Friedensberg. I live at 9290 Bridge Creek Drive. I've had several emails with Chris, and he's answered most of my questions. And I guess I just wanted to bring up that we've spoke via email that this does include condominiums, the difference between multifamily dwellings and multifamily communities, I guess, is what you're...
Correct. Yeah, we consider condominium single family.
Yeah.
We consider them attached single family, I guess, from a development perspective.
The other thing that I wanted to say is that, as I understand it, garbage bags will not be allowed. People will not be able to put garbage bags out,
Not if you have a limited service.
not if you have limited service.
If you have
Unlimited, you can put as many bags, as long as they don't weigh over 40 pounds, you can put as many
Right.
bags as you want.
So the driver going around is going to know who has limited, who has unlimited.
That would be up to the
That would be up to Rumpke.
You'll have to figure out how they're going to do that. Yeah.
Okay, and then if there's garbage bags left out because they didn't pick it up, whose responsibility is it then? Does the township come around to make sure that people are we just going to...
That's really the homeowner's
So
responsibility.
Rumpke is going
But you
to...
can let Chris know, and we could let them know, and they'll have to come back and get it. But we haven't, I mean, I've used Rumpke over 10 years, and I haven't had a problem with them not taking it.
Well, and I've used Rumpke probably that longer, and I mean, I don't think that the problem's been in the past, but we're kind of introducing potential problem. And I know the city of Cincinnati, they require certain things, and they're even penalizing people, so I didn't know if we're going to enter in that.
The good news is we're not the city.
Yeah, well, exactly.
That's the best news.
Okay.
In theory, the way we set up this RFP and this bidding process as well as the program is that minimal changes to what residents experience now with their individual contracts, but hopefully because of economies of scale, it's going to reduce price, which is evident, I think, in the bids. But the idea was not to make it substantially different than what residents experience.
Okay, so the statement you made earlier about if you don't really want the 95-gallon garbage container, which would take me about 2 months to fill, I think, if I use the recycling, that will be in the letter somehow saying this is how you arrange to make sure you get a smaller.
Yeah, we'll work that out with Rumpke.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Go ahead.
Gentleman in the middle.
My name is Jacob Williams, and I'm a resident, 9530 Costa Drive. This isn't the main reason why I came here today, but in your description of this, Mr. Gilbert, just about every frame had the word surcharge on it, and we all know that surcharge can sometimes turn into a 4-letter word. How will you guys be able to make sure it doesn't happen in this case when you're spouting how this is going to be a cost savings? You don't know because the surcharge is still a question mark that you guys have no control over what may end up being.
No, we actually do. We have more control over this process than the residents do individually now in the contract. Right now, the fuel surcharge that you get charged by Rumpke, whoever your waste hauler is, they can make up whatever number they want. In this particular scenario, under contract, it has a formula by which they can do fuel surcharges. We established the formula, so they can't play with it. We know what the fuel charge is going to be if there is one. The first year, there won't be one. It's included in the price. There are no additional charges other than fuel cost adjustments, which we control the formula by which that happens.
I drove a lot of truck over the road over the years, and I know that surcharge can be a funny way where it can be used to make up for losses in another area, we'll just tack on some more surcharge. But if the good people of your township are good with it, then I'm good with it.
Well, you're absolutely right. As you know, they charge you more when gas goes up. They don't charge you less when gas goes down. This formula actually holds their feet to the fire as to how to.
That's what we need to talk about.
Thank you for the question. Yes, next question.
Sherry Steveno, just a couple questions about the contract. I guess I didn't see it on the slides. What is the term of what you're proposing here?
It's 5 years.
And then the renewal would be renegotiated, or are there some fixed?
You go back out to bid.
Go back out to bid at that point then? So the price is fixed for 5 years?
Yeah, well, in each term is fixed. So in 2016-17 is 1620. The next year goes to 1650. The third year 1685. The fourth year 1720, and the fifth year 1755, which still reflects a pretty significant savings over the current average price.
Okay. And how does it work with the other townships then? So, I mean, the proposal or the bid that you have right now depends on all 3 townships cooperating and approving it. So if one of the other townships would opt out, where does that leave Springfield Township?
We would sort of be at the mercy of the wastewater, whether they want to continue with this, or we could go out and bid on our own.
So, and when are Coleraine and Ross approving then?
They would have to approve by the same time we do, like at least August 15th.
Okay. And then the contract, could you post that on the township's website so we could actually look at the details then before it's approved? That'd be great. Thank you.
Is there anyone else have any questions? Okay. Seeing no one else has any questions, we'll move next on to our next public hearing, which is,
We need to close this one.
we need to close the public hearing regarding the solid waste contractual proposal. Need a
So
motion?
moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is closed.
Okay. So the public hearing now that we're going to open up is regarding our tax budget. And this is, I'm going to turn this meeting, this part of the hearing over to Mr. Hennikamp, but I also just want to say that the tax budget for 2016 is in compliance with the Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.28 and 5705.30, and it's an annual proposed tax budget. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Hennikamp.
Thank you, Ms. McFarland. As you mentioned, this is a requirement of the Ohio Revised Code, something that we do every July of each year. And this actually, the tax budget is a little misnamed somewhat, causes a little bit of confusion. This is actually the start of our budget process. This particular document is actually more of an accounting document than it is a planning or policy document. So in enacting this, the board is not allocating money specifically to line items. Basically what this process is, it is a recap of actuals for 2013, actuals in terms of revenues and expenditures for 2014, actuals for the first half of 2015, and then estimates for the second half of 2015, and estimates for the entire year of 2016. Once the board approves this, we send this document to the county, and they actually approve it. They send us back a certificate, and once we receive the certificate, that's basically telling us that here are the amounts established that you can now budget. You can now allocate these monies towards these specific purposes. So I think a lot of times when people think of budget, we'll spend a whole lot of time going line item by line item, and finally we do that fairly quick. We go through this, but this is actually the initial step in the process, not the final step. So a little bit confusing from that standpoint. I know the board has copies of it. There really is very little change as you go through the document. What we're estimating for the second half of 15 and for all of 16, pretty much in line with what our actuals were for both 13 and 14. Out the only significant change would be in the revenue section for the general fund. Some changes reflecting, if additional revenues as a result of the jazz tax. But other than that, things pretty much in line with what you've seen over the years. We went obviously through a lot of change in the last 5 or 6 years, sort of repositioning ourselves with all the cuts and all the things. And I think what you're seeing in this particular tax budget is sort of the stability of that. Those changes have been made. We're not proposing any more changes. Our personnel, which is the lion's share of our cost, is projected to stay about where it is. So fairly stable, pretty consistent. So I don't have a whole lot a lot else to go through. As I said, it's more really an accounting document. About the only thing I might note is, as you look and you kind of follow one other major change, and this was something that we've anticipated and sort of projected all along, is you're seeing fund balances. Projected fund balances are certainly much less than they were. If you start at 2013 and look backward, you're seeing the reduction of those fund balances because we've spent some of those savings in the years knowing the onslaught that was coming. So we're spending down some of our revenues. You're seeing some of that JEDS money now being projected to come in to make up a little bit for that in 16, but still some work to be done, as we're well aware, and I've talked at length now. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I have, and so we'll be happy to answer any questions. Kim Hobbs, our finance director, is also here. Kim spent the lion's share of the last month putting this together. She could, between the two of us, we'll be happy to answer any questions.
And once, once this hearing is over and we complete the necessary requirements as we should, then it'll be on our website.
It'll be sent to the
It'll be sent
to the county. It's been made available since, I think, July 6th.
I think it was
It has to be
actually
available
July
10 days.
1st that we've had it available, yeah.
Okay.
It's been available for review. And there is a resolution later in the agenda
Right.
that would actually be taking action on it, so.
Any questions?
I have no questions.
Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions about the proposed tax budget for 2016? Okay, seeing none, the motion.
To adjourn this.
Yeah, public hearing, yes.
So
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Next on the agenda, we're going back to our meeting agenda, approval of minutes. We had a regular session on May.
Only open the regular meeting. No.
Right. Approval of minutes from the regular session on May the 12th, 2015. Regular work sessions on April the 28th, 2015. Regular work sessions on May the 26th, 2015. Special meeting on May the 19th, 2015.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next is our financial report. Mr. Burning, our fiscal officer, you can give us a financial report, please?
Yes, I may. For the month ending June 30th, 2015, the township expenditures were $1,401,387.14, and the receipts were a whopping $459,925.96. That has an ending cash balance of $16,972,034.68. This includes obligations for expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvement projects, and investments. But what I do need is a motion to approve receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, updates, and current revenues for the period ending June 30th, 2015.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, and I just want everyone to know that financial reports are available for viewing at the administration's offices here, weekdays during regular business hours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Burning.
Thank you.
Your reports are always so concise, as always.
Thank you, Kim.
Our next Activity on our agenda is the departmental action and discussion items, which will be from Mr. Henkamp, our township administrator.
For all of these two action items, one, we have a request to approve a liquor permit. This is for Cincinnati Concession doing business at Colgan Park at 10303 Mill Road. I don't know if there's any objection to this permit from the police department.
There's no objection.
So I would recommend that we request a motion in order to authorize the customary notice to the Division of Liquor Control if there are no objections. No moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Second action item I have is to add 4 approved caterers to our approved caterer list for the Grill Banquet Hall and the Amos Kitchen, Inc. Second will be Golden Rule Catering, the third will be Rob's Restaurant, and the fourth will be Taste the World in Cincy, with the stipulation that the final one, that Taste the World in Cincy, be contingent on them making a minor revision to their insurance certificate. I think it's just an oversight on their submission, so we just want to make sure that they actually list the restaurant on their certificate. And once that happens, I would recommend that all 4 of those be added to our approved caterers. And the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I just think it's great that we're going to give our, any resident that wants to use that more options as far as catering. We started off with a small list of vendors and we're expanding and depending on the
About at
event.
the limit.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Don't panic, we're not here for you.
Oh, darn it.
Right now, nobody knows what we're talking about. We can see it. Just a couple of discussion items. I just wanted to let the board know, back, it might have been in April or May, we entered into an agreement with the St. Francis Group as the preferred developer, began working on the Board of the Nursery property. We're making some revisions to that agreement to kind of go into the next phase, which is involving more the master plan, more the actual marketing, and then potentially the sale of that property. I had hoped there was a chance we would have that agreement done. We're still working through some revisions, so at this point, it looks like it might be a work session later this month or our August meeting. So we're making progress in that regard, not quite there yet. Also wanted to mention that we do have a series of resolutions coming up at the next part of our meeting. One of those resolutions is another item that we've talked about for, I know, 2 or 3 months during our work sessions, and that is issues dealing with specifically trees in the right of way, but this resolution actually does deal with trees in the township right of way. This is something we've kind of dealt with on a case-by-case basis over the years. However, it's gotten to the point with the ash tree, the destruction of the ash tree, with the middle ash borer. We have a lot of pine trees in the right of way that are presenting a hazard to them. Off and on, over the years, we've also gotten requests from residents to plant things in the right of way, and generally we've followed the guidelines that we've established in-house to do so, but we've never formally adopted those. This resolution does that. It's something that Laura has spent probably the better part of the last 2 or 3 months making this a very comprehensive document. It's very thorough, deals with a lot of different situations, but unfortunately it's becoming a big issue. There's probably, I wouldn't say close to 400. That's right. 400 trees that are dying in the right of way right now, most of them ash. We've got some maple.
You've got some maple, you have some oak, wide variety.
So some of them pretty sizable, so becoming a safety hazard is something we want to address and do so comprehensively. And I think the good part of this is that not only does this resolution deal with removing the ones in the right of way, but it also talks about the process if somebody wants to request to plant something in the right of way. The way that they can do that, certain trees are better than others, and then we documented that and kind of repeating some of the issues that we've got going on right now. So I don't know if the board has any questions. Obviously, this is the resolution later for the agenda. Just wanted to kind of touch base on that.
Thanks for clarifying that, because we certainly don't want to be in a position where a huge tree falls over on somebody's car or interest in individuals as we've had in this past spring. I think one of the trees fell over and hit a passenger in a car and they were killed. So whatever we
It's
should
in
do.
the city.
That was in the city,
Yeah.
right, it was not in the township. I just think we are being proactive and trying to stay ahead of that curve.
Well, I had a discussion with Laura about this, and Laura, I had a chance to read the resolution, and I think that I want to say she put a lot of time and thought into this, and we tried to make it in places where it can be as unrestricted as possible. We do that. If it's something though that's particularly, it's a life safety issue, it's something that could threaten the public safety, then it is more restrictive, including the right that the township can impose fines and can go out and actually take down dangerous trees if they have to on their own. So it's, I think a lot of time and effort's gone into it. It's a difficult area, and it's unfortunately because of some of the diseases and insects that have come into our region, the Seminole ash borers, just millions and millions of trees across Ohio, really the whole Midwest are dying from this. It's a huge issue that's going to affect every property owner, almost, and certainly all governments. So I think it's a good thing that we need to get in place now, and it's something we're going to be dealing with more as the full impact of this insect gets spread across the area.
Absolutely.
All right, just one other quick discussion item, is just to remind the board that at our work session, the board made motions to authorize us to submit 4 skip applications. These are 4 projects for resurfacing the township roads. We do have 4. What the skip process requires is that there be an individual resolution for each project, so later in the agenda as well, we'll have 4 projects. These projects: Burlington Meadows subdivision, Glen Forest resurfacing project, Hempstead Drive, Melanie Lane, and the Kemper Mill Village resurfacing project. So again, later in our agenda. Our guest is anxiously waiting, so I'm going to skip ahead and go right to our personnel update. Typically, we go through this and talk about the activity in the month, and it's been our practice in recent months. We try to, where we have new employees, try to bring those individuals in so the board and public can meet them. In this case, we have an existing employee, Police Officer Jim Sheeler. Jim has taken on the role as the canine officer, and we want to introduce a new canine to the board and to the public. And I'll turn things over to Chief Browder, and Chief, if you could give us a little more details about Officer Sheeler and his new sidekick, Paco.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. We're going to introduce here just, if you want to come on in, Jim. This is Police Officer Jim Sheeler, and his new canine partner, his name is Paco. Paco is just over a year old. He's a German Shepherd. He just completed 14 weeks of training with the city of Cincinnati. Paco is a dual-trained police dog, meaning that he does patrol duties where he can track individuals, locate missing persons, locate evidence, and he is also trained in narcotics detection. So he's going to be a fine addition to our police department. One thing I want to note that we received a generous donation of Paco from the Matt Abercamp Foundation, so we were able to secure Paco at 0 cost. Along with that, 14 weeks of training was graciously provided by nationally known canine handlers from the city of Cincinnati. So we were very fortunate to be able to, obtain our new officer at very 0 cost. Officer Sheeler has been with us for a number of years. Officer Sheeler actually started with us as a teenager in our Explorer program. So Officer Sheeler is another example of how successful our Explorer program has been.
Chief, our canine program we've had for probably 20 plus.
20 plus.
Very, very successful.
Extremely
Very
successful.
helpful
not only for us, but for the neighboring communities.
That's correct. We're requested it as far as mutual aid, and in turn, we don't have canines that are on duty at the time. They return by allowing us to use their canines. So it's a very successful program.
We have purchases all 70, 10,000, something like that range.
7 or 8,000 for the dog, and the training would be another $10,000 on top of the cost of the dog. So substantial savings to the residents of the township for such a valuable tool.
Thank you, Officer Shell. And
Trying to do that. Okay, our service department also did want to introduce one of our new employees, and Richard Riggs, which joins us as a full-time laborer. And Mike, I don't know if you want to just make a few comments about it.
Yeah, Rick comes over to us from Hamilton County Engineer. 13 years of experience. It's out on the road. He's got snow and ice experience, asphalt, blacktop, and that. We are very excited to have Rick as part of the team, and look forward to having a long career.
welcome. And I just want to also reiterate that the position has always been the position there. It's not a new position that we've created. So when you see individuals coming into our system, it's normally because of attrition or someone's relocated. So we're not creating new positions. So he's filling a vacant position. We are so great to have him.
Okay, happy to be here. Well, that's a good comment. Really, everything pretty much for the rest of this year and for the foreseeable future, we've met as staff. We're looking at 5-year staffing plans. We're staffed about what we think we need to be for the 5 years. I mean, we've made the changes. We're still working to try to do some collaborative things. We're still utilizing we've got some programs with police and fire working together. We're looking at some possible things and how we can do that in the service department as well. So, we know what the budget picture is going to look like, not only for the next year or two, but also 5, and looking down the road further than that. And we feel like we're about right sized. Unfortunately, our demand for service continues to increase, so that's going to be the challenge. But we know budget-wise, we feel like this is about where we need to be, where we're going to be. So, a very good point as we go through this monthly. This is not adding new positions. This is simply filling vacant positions. And a lot of these positions are summer help that we talk about. I think typically you do see a fair amount of churn in the part-time fire service. That's just the way it works. As part-timers get full-time jobs, they move on. You do see some activity there. And then we are going through kind of a normally high amount of retirements where we've had employees that have been with us 30, 35 years. This is, we have a Chief Heimel, 40 years of service, and so, it's just that it's the time. We've had a lot of people that have been with us a long time that were hired about the same time, so you're seeing a little bit of that activity, but that's what's going on. Next month, we will bring in Joe Plackey, who is one of the new full-time paramedic firefighters, as well as John Busing, so we'll have them with us next month. But also wanted to mention that I did accept the resignation of George Seibels, a part-time EMT firefighter, effective July 1st. Linda Kramer, in the police department as an administrative assistant. Linda is also part-time, effective date June 19th, 2015. We did promote Kevin Woodruff from a part-time police officer to a full-time police officer. Effective date of his promotion was June 20th. Accepted the resignation of one of the building monitors back in our senior center, Brian Hall, effective date July 5th, and the resignation of one of our seasonal laborers, Luke Richards, and the effective date for Mr. Richards' resignation was July the 2nd. The next thing I have is a few months ago, I guess it's been a month ago, at one of our work sessions, we discussed that we had received a request from a resident on Meadow Trail Court regarding a parking
adding a parking restriction. Meadow Trail comes off of Clemray, and it has kind of a sharp bend as you go around. And there's been some parking along that bend, which creates a sight distance issue, as well as was requesting to posting a portion of Meadow Trail Court as there's no parking. This is our customary practice. What we typically do is have our police chief, police department look at it, as well as our service department look at it, have them review it, take a look at the traffic manuals that we utilize to see if it's in compliance with that, or if we're out of compliance with something like that. And then we notify the affected residents. And so we won't take action. In tonight's tonight, we do have that on the agenda, and the board has seen the proposal. We have talked about this, I think, initially with staff. We were proposing the first area was a much larger restricted area. After asking both Chief Browder and Service Director, we'll go out and take another look at it. I think we've already determined that we can significantly reduce that area to limit the restriction. I think our recommendation would be to limit that restriction to pretty much just on the curved portion of the street. I would say it's probably about half of what it was initially. We think that meets the intent and would still handle the sight distance issue. So that's kind of where we are. I know there's some residents that are here, and this is the portion of the meeting where we hear the comments, both pro and con from that next action.
So what I would like just to, for those residents that are here this evening, I'd like to hear your thoughts and comments as well. I understand we're always looking at safety issues in our community and keeping not only our children safe, but our adults as well. So if there's anyone here this evening regarding this area, would you please step to the podium and share what your thoughts and comments are about the proposal? Yes, sir.
My name is Jim Quinn. I live at 537 Meadow Trail, and I've seen the proposal, and I think it's a good idea. The Meadow Trail has sort of turned over since my children grew up, and there's a whole lot of very young children, the 2 to 7 kind of age, a lot of them, 40, 50, something like that. And it's a court. It is a dead end, and so kids play in the street. And it's difficult to see when there are a lot of cars parked. I've also seen some of them are large minivans, pickup trucks, that sort of thing. It's hard to see. I think it's a good idea, and I support it. I don't think it's an undue burden on any individuals for under the purpose of safety for the kids. That's where I'm coming from.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Is there anyone else?
Hello there, my name is Katie Siefker. Live at 520 Meadow Trail, so basically the house on that bend. So we recently moved in, and we are one of the families that have, a child right now, more in the future. So obviously safety is important to us as well. But I would like to separate this argument and break it down a little more. I've heard that there's a visibility requirement for 155 feet, is that correct? Yes?
That is correct, yes.
And based on what you sent me, that's based on speed? That could be reduced or increased based on speed?
Yes, the engineering of Meadow Trail Corridor calls for 155 feet because the speed limit is 25 miles per hour.
Okay. So some variables that can increase or decrease that would be based on speed and based on how much we would restrict the parking. So I think there's different things that can go into the equation to affect how little or how much that we would restrict. So I also know, yes, safety is a priority, but I also know there's a lot of people in the neighborhood that have big family parties, and we still need places to park. And especially on the inside curve, that's the the biggest area on that whole street that does not have, it's like our driveway, that's it. So there's very little interruptions in that area, so that's also a place where people have been parking. So what we did just before I came here, trying to seek a nice merriment between the two, where it's both safe, but it accommodates the parking for many of the people on that street for parties that they have through the year. I can pass these pictures around, but verbally, what I would be proposing would be restricting parking from like the north side of our driveway, where our mailbox is, to where the proposed red line ends today. We've had two of our vehicles. I parked one on one side, parked one on the other, and I stood out in the street and took a picture. From my pictures, I feel that we have enough visibility to meet the need. My other recommendation would be we could reduce the speed limit to 15. There are some vehicles that I think go far over this 25 miles per hour anyway. I would like to see that reduced. They come flying through the curb starting at Clembury. So understanding that both speed and the distance restricted can go into the equation, I would like to change both to meet both safety and accommodate the parking for the street. So instead of just going on one way, just the parking only, I think both would be the best wholesome solution.
So your proposal would be to reduce the restrictions to about half what it is now.
Yeah, can I show you the pictures?
Yes, because we have two different pictures here, so.
This is one that I was sent, mine on the link.
You're right.
So what I would like,
That's the second.
Those are not what she sent us.
this is just like.
Right.
Okay. This is a different picture of the same thing.
So I think the restriction, yeah, was around here to here, but I think that would be very good view from each direction. So two of our vehicles are putting in those areas. And we can see quite a bit, and I think especially speed limit for just 15, because there's people that fly by.
Well, I disagree with reducing the speed limit might help, but the only problem is I live on cul-de-sac too, and the speed limit's actually 35, and we're still kids driving up and down the street 50 miles an hour. So I'm not saying 15 would help.
Just a quick side note, we don't have the authority to change the speed. We must use what the bank.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, we've got to go with the speed limit posted for the design.
It's similar, but
This is a little bit longer instead of stopping here.
I understand, but that's where it's like a state, this is a lot of restrictions. That's why.
was the original we looked at.
That's the original one.
Oh, okay.
So where is the original one, just trying to use that.
These two are right.
But for these two, as you see these views, we still have quite a bit of visibility on the street, and where the two vehicles are parked, one is right here, and the other one is right there. Right where that stops, the other one is just.
The only concern that I would have is the fact that somebody walks up in front of one of these cars, you know, I mean,
That's
it has
right
an
now.
ability there, we're still seeing a
That's
car
our,
here.
that's our driveway.
Which one is your driveway?
Our driveway is
Right.
so there's no parking there, there's no driving there. That distance right there, I was going to do that.
You're talking about the one from here.
Yes, yes. And this is what it looks like on the street.
This is an actual picture, which is one on each side.
Yes, exactly where this is.
Yeah, we can look at it, I mean,
Did you give us an opportunity to see it?
Yeah.
Thank you for this proposal.
So just so I'm clear, what you're saying,
here's your look at it.
right, that this one
This
here,
agrees
She wants
with,
to stop it here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of here.
and where this vehicle is, it agrees with where you already proposed stop.
This one is down there.
Yeah, so this agrees.
This one wouldn't be there if there was a parking ban.
No, it would be there.
It's just at the end of the radius.
Oh, it's past that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tail of
It's
this,
just past that.
the tail of
And
this.
the other part that you see on there is right here.
I got you.
So basically, the only change from proposal is being able to park and right immediately in front of
You
our
would
house.
start a little bit more west.
Yeah.
Right,
You got you. Okay, I understand now.
pushing it a little bit more
But
southwest.
this is the view, if we were parking by our house, and we see the over here.
Right.
That is, this house right here. And there's no part of the vehicle.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You can take this and review.
It's completely woods.
Okay. Let's go back.
There is a resolution on the agenda, so if you're not going to take action on what's been proposed, then we
I'd like to
act on
answer
that.
that a little bit more.
would act on that.
We'll look at it.
Yeah. Is there anyone else regarding this area of town? Yes, in the township.
Good evening, I'm Chris Schlichter. I live at 525 Clemray Drive. Actually, they are my neighbors. I'm also right there on the corner. You can probably see my house in the pictures that were shared. I definitely agree with the premise of the idea. I want to keep the kids safe, especially because half of the 50 kids in the neighborhood are mine. So I do appreciate all of my neighbors coming out and trying to protect my kids that are crossing the street, because I'm not being a very good parent. But besides that, I just want to add to really Katie's recommendation that I'd like to put, if we can reduce the speed limit, can we at least add a sign to the proposal to say, slow down, kids at play, or whatever the usual verbiage is for kids at play signage.
In the past, we have not done that. The reason is that people tend to ignore them, put them up, unless, that's been our policy that we don't put those up because they're not, people don't look at them, they don't pay attention to them. We would do the ones for like blind children, we've seen those are different. Yeah, definitely.
Just so you know, I mean, if your neighbors and you are probably, if it's a cul-de-sac, you're driving on it most of the time. So, I mean, most people should understand that you have kids in the neighborhood anyway, and maybe if you all got together and talked about the fact that, hey, look, we need to be a little more careful on the street because there are a bunch of young children on the street. Could you please tell your 16-year-old son to please, obey the speed limit or whatever?
And sir, I do agree that our neighbors do a great job of taking care of our kids as a respective community. It's some of the younger teens who bring in their own teens now, who may not have any idea that there are younger kids in the neighborhood, especially the kids now during the college time when they're home from college and their college friends are coming over to visit them. Again, they're not necessarily paying attention to the rules. It would just make us feel safer, a little safer as parents. I can go out there to Sam's and Costco and buy a nice little sign and put it up in somebody's yard, but I feel a little safer if I knew there was a sign, a commitment, a showing from the township saying, hey guys, this is a community that we're trying to raise some young children.
Let me just elaborate on it. I mean, our policy is based on the fact that ODOT, the Ohio Department of Transportation, absolutely discourages those. And they haven't banned them. They actually debated banning them a couple of years ago. Because what they find is every neighborhood wants them then, right? So it's every 25 feet you'll see that sign, and it becomes like the warning labels on your any product you buy, right? No one looks at it. So it actually, they feel, becomes more of a danger. And ODOT did a pretty significant study about, I'm getting old now, was it 10 years ago at this point?
Yes, I think you're correct.
And they came out very strongly and said they did not want jurisdictions to post that sort of sign, that their research indicated they were more dangerous than not. So at that point, we said, no, we would not put those signs up for that reason. I don't think I know it makes you feel better, but I don't think it solves your problem. And their study said that.
So versus the more cost-effective solution, then I would like to propose consideration of a sidewalk.
Yeah, sidewalks are typically done through assessment. I mean, that would have to be a petition and an assessment project, something we can look into.
So the homeowners pay for that. each one basically on the sidewalk in front of their house, where that works, yeah. So I thought
That's something we can look into and educate the community as well. But I did like one statement that you made earlier, which is put the responsibility back on the parents, of the kids, the teenagers, or the kids, or even the parents themselves as adults. This is our neighborhood, this is your neighborhood. If you have teenagers and they're just getting their license, you have to drive carefully, period. Just adhere to the law and the safety of the community. That, to me, is very effective as well. We can look at the possibility of a sidewalk. We can look into that.
Maybe what I would suggest is, Chris, obviously the board knows this is my neighborhood as well. I live on the end of Columbus. I'm pretty familiar with the situation. There are a lot of kids in the subdivision that's going through sort of several, evolutions of, no kids to a lot of young kids right now. And it's great because the kids are outside, they're playing ball. And I think for the most part, most people, do go really slow. They're aware of it. They know, especially at that intersection, there are just a lot of little guys crossing and running and chasing balls and doing things. But there's a couple of folks that don't. And if you that live back there, that go a lot faster than they should. And, then you do have, like you said, the teenagers where they have a friend coming over and they don't know, and the kids tend to drive a little faster than normal. So maybe what I would suggest is maybe we try to get the whole neighborhood together. We could certainly do it somebody's house back there, or here at the township, and discuss that issue, a lot of different issues, and maybe come back with something a little bit more comprehensive that everybody's on board with. I get entirely what you're asking for with the sign. The problem is every neighborhood wants it. And not only then putting signs up throughout the township, but I don't really think, people don't follow stop signs. They go through all kinds of rules or everything. I don't think it'll have that effect. It makes you feel peace of mind, but it has no enforcement capability. And I think it doesn't really do what you're talking about. The sidewalks could be a good idea. Everybody's on board.
I like the idea of meeting and discussing certain strategies. Yes.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's a gentleman, yes.
I don't have anything to do with the neighborhood, but I'm a resident of Springfield Township.
Did you step to the podium, please?
I think what they're trying to get at is thinking outside the box. What other possibilities are there? And you could put a crosswalk in there at the cul-de-sac, which would be signed and pavement marking. It wouldn't cost that much. It wouldn't affect you with your child. Sign out there, painting with a crosswalk, yellow lines. That is enforceable. Somebody hits pedestrian in a crosswalk, got big time problems. So maybe, I don't know the area, maybe put a crosswalk in. Can of paint, you're done.
What's your name, sir?
Danny McElroy.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much.
It's a great suggestion in this situation. The kids would come. The kids would be not letting in the street to begin with if they were going to follow across.
Well, I think the best idea is to meet as a community and come to some sort of a resolution that public safety and also works for the rest.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you much. Oh, you have, yes.
A couple more questions, comments I thought of. So just from the tone of the neighborhood, there's a lot of families who are good friends. So a lot of the kids all play together. So it's just going from yard to yard. So it's not, across here. We're all friends. We all, hang out in each other's yards and such. So the other question I had is, what would be the recommendation when we do have people speeding on the streets? I know some people have called in. There are some vehicles where I know, hey, it's that vehicle every time. I guess both, what is your guidance? And then also, just a thought I had is, what about speed bumps on the street? Those who go slow won't really care. Those who go fast hopefully would care.
Speed bumps has been, some questions has been raised over the years, and their safety hazard with speed bumps. For example, number one, if you have emergency equipment going, back in that particular area, it slows down the process of, vehicles getting there. There are other neighborhoods that have them true enough, but they also can enhance an accident if somebody's speeding. That's what I've seen so far.
We've had these requests for the last 15 to 20 years on the speed bumps as well. And it's kind of the same thing as the signs. It's posted 25. We can't reduce it to 25. So if you hit that speed bump on 25, you put an impediment in the road. And if somebody flies and goes out of control because they are speeding and does even worse damage, we put the impediment there. So you have the cost of putting it in, number one. And again, once you put it in one neighborhood, you're going to put it in every neighborhood.
Bicycles too.
Generally have found that they have not been effective. I mean, some neighborhoods probably love them. I know there's a bill in Ohio that was introduced by their sites to prohibit them. I don't know if that ever got any traction, but it was something that we have not done.
I used to live on the streets in Oakland years ago. They put in speed bumps, and 6 months later, they took them out.
So then on the guidance for at least the known vehicles that at least some people all know that speed more, what would be the recommendation there? And I know one of the residents has already called the police once before. So
We're more than happy to provide some enforcement there for your speed concerns. We have a list that we hit these streets every single day and understand that it's very hard to actually get the one person at one point because of the timing of when they're coming in and out. I'd like to meet with you and talk with you about the certain individual, and I'll talk to them personally.
okay, thank you.
Chief, you can also put the
It's a
radar sign.
Correct.
And
that'll actually survey.
Survey what the speeds.
Correct.
Does that take pictures of the violators?
We do not have that model, no, sir.
So you're
Posted on the neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Jeff Oakley. I'm at 531 Meadow Trail. I guess a couple things I'd like to point out to you guys who don't live back there or aren't familiar. That neighborhood's been there for 30 years. There's not one accident report for that neighborhood. We'd like to catch our speeder, and believe me, I know who he is too, okay? But, if it ain't fixed, or broke, don't fix it. We see, we've started with a huge area with no parking. We've reduced that because of visibility. I've been there almost 20 years. I've seen all the kids, and there's tons now. And there were none a couple years ago, tons years before that, my kids. We all know back there. You talk about a community meeting, we know. It's our responsibility, that's their street. Our kids own that street. And it's a great place to live, it's a great place for kids to be raised. And I don't know, I'd just like to see it continue. If there's some law somewhere that says that we need to do something where the parking is concerned, why wasn't it done before? Why does it have to be done now? Like they said, we have large families. If Christmas comes around, there's no place to park on the street. People have large families. We're one of the biggest, us and Chris, I guess, we're two of the biggest. We'll have 10, 15 cars, maybe more. And then 6 more down the street, 8 more down. You start taking away the parking. That's part of the neighborhood. That's part of the reason we're there. That's part of the reason we moved there. For our kids to have a safe place, and for us to have a great place to have our families together. So, when you're looking at proposals to change things, look at the safety records. Nothing's ever happened there.
And I just want to also add that the concern was raised by a person in your neighborhood.
I understand.
And that was brought to our attention, but we're going to explore it in the community and then we'll move forward from there.
All right.
Thank you for your thoughts and your comments. Okay. Is there anyone else?
talking about kids, we're talking playgrounds. So we want some parking restrictions in playgrounds. Exciting news, we've talked about relocating the playground up in the Seven Hills neighborhood, and we were able to secure a community development grant for a portion of that, and then also secure a additional grant called Kaboom, and I'll let Kim talk about that, and the news updates going on in community events.
Thank you. Yeah, Springfield Township was successful in earning $35,000 worth of grants from Kaboom and from the Community Development Block Grant. And we're going to be building that with the help of volunteers in the neighborhood and volunteers with Northminster Church. That playground will go up on August the 8th, and then we will be having a ribbon cutting ceremony for the neighbors in that community with a little back to school celebration. So we're excited to kind of put a new piece in that neighborhood. The old playground was left over from Frost Elementary and has well outlived its days. So this will be a really nice piece for that neighborhood. As far as community events goes, this Friday we have our Touch a Truck event that will bring over 1,000 people to our back parking lot to look at all of the construction vehicles and police and fire and stuff. We have our dinner theater on July the 24th. We are doing our third community concert for the summer. We're actually having 3 bands all in one night on July 30th, and that is the day that we're hosting our ball drop event, and our Young Entrepreneurs program is going to be launching their big pop-up restaurant on that night, so that's really exciting. On August the 6th, we're going to be bringing the Cincinnati Civic Orchestra concert to the Grove Banquet Hall. That'll be the final summer concert of the series, and that'll be indoors at the Grove. Again, doing that playground build with the help of residents and neighbors on August the 8th. And then we are doing a dinner theater on August the 21st with the gentleman from America's Got Talent, who is a magician. His name is Stephen Knight. A lot going on.
Yes. A lot going on and stay here in your community.
That's right.
That's right. Okay.
I know the board has copies of the departmental activity reports. This is a question on one of those. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hennigan. All right, following the agenda, Mr. Well, let's do the resolution, because we have a lot of resolutions. Let's do that. Our first resolution is number 42, 2015, declaring nuisances pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87 at various listed properties within Springfield Township and authorizing statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances. Need a motion?
So moved.
Seconded. Mr. Burning? Aye. Mr. Hanwha?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
So we've been busy with the nuisances based on the weather that we're having. The next nuisance is 43, 2015, establishing assessment for abatement and nuisance and certifying same to the Hamilton County Auditor. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burning? Aye. Mr. Hanwha?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
This next resolution is the one that we discussed earlier when we had the public hearing regarding the 2016 tax budget. It's resolution number 44, 2015, adopting the 2016 tax budget.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burning? Aye. Mr. Hanwha?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Okay, the next resolution is the one we also indicated earlier when we talked about improvements, in the community and skip projects. So you'll hear, it will appear that you're hearing the same resolution 3 or 4 times, but I will identify specifically which one it's applying to, which project it's applying to. Okay, so you all will bear with me. A resolution, this is resolution number 45, 2015. Resolution authorizing Gwen McFarland, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustee, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or Local Transportation Improvement Programs, and to execute contracts as required. And this resolution is applicable to the Burlington Metals Resurfacing Project. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Vernon? Aye. Mr. Honowell?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next resolution is number 46, 2015, a resolution authorizing Gwen McFarland, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to participate and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or Local Transportation Improvement Programs, and to execute contracts as required. And this one is applicable to the Glen Forest Resurfacing Project.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Vernon? Aye. Mr. Honowell?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next resolution is number 47, 2015, a resolution authorizing Gwen McFarland, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or Local Transportation Improvement Programs, and to execute contracts as required. And this one is applicable to Hempstead Drive and Melody Lane Resurfacing Project.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Vernon?
Aye.
Mr. Honowell?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next resolution is number 48, 2015, a resolution authorizing Gwen McFarland, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or Local Transportation Improvement Programs, and to execute contracts as required. This one is applicable to Kimber Mill Village Resurfacing Project.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Vernon?
Aye.
Mr. Honowell?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next resolution is number 49, 2015, authorizing sale by internet auction of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in the service department.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Vernon?
Aye.
Mr. Honowell?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And let me make sure I'm correct with this. Number 50, that's
I'm requesting a motion to
table that.
Table 50, if we
Right.
to table it, and then we'll come back if we continue to use it that way sequentially, then we'll do the same.
Okay.
I would make that motion then that we table a vote on resolution 50, 2015 until we have further discussion with the residents regarding the parking issue.
Okay.
Good. Seconded. Mr. Vernon?
Aye.
Mr. Honowell?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution's tabled.
Okay, and the next resolution is 51, 2015, creating, this is a resolution that we also indicated earlier regarding the trees and the ash trees and how we can also look at managing trees in the right of way as well. And it's creating, resolution number 51, 2015, creating a program for management of trees within the right of ways throughout Springfield Township.
And Ms. Abrams, this is
just the first reading.
this is
The
just the
first-
first reading,
first
so we
reading.
don't actually have,
That's read by title, what you do, that's it.
and that's it. And that's because this is a home rule resolution that requires 3 readings.
Right.
Two.
2.
So we'll go to a second reading and that'll run next week.
Okay.
Okay. Let me make sure we do this appropriately. This is the part of the agenda where we come to the old business. Do you have any old business?
I have no old business.
Any new business? New business?
Just under new business, I would like to say, on the 4 resolutions that we just enacted tonight pertaining to skip grants, that is the first step in the process. It doesn't mean that all those streets are going to get paved, but what it does is we're directing our staff, we're going to go ahead, we're going to submit all the documentation and paperwork to apply for the grants, and then we're going to see it's a competitive process. We'll see how our particular projects are funded, whether or not we get the points that we need to get the funding to make them necessary. It's a way that we can really leverage taxpayers' dollars and usually get road projects done for maybe half of what they would normally cost us. And so we can stretch our road dollars, which are pretty limited as far as possible. But we're not committing that we have to do all 4. It'll depend on what our budgets are and how much money we have after we've gone through the process and we see where we rank. So I think that's important for people to know. It just doesn't mean we're going to do all 4. It will depend on what happens.
Excellent point. I would just, a new business I have is our fire department, Springfield Township Fire Department, received an EMS grant award. And I'm very impressed with this because we were awarded $3,500. And I'd like you to talk about how that money is going to be spent and how it's going to save lives. And it can save any of us in this room at any time. So, Rob, could you kind of give us an overview of this?
Yes, ma'am. We apply annually for an EMS grant through the Public Safety Grant. And what it's for is really for training. So it will allow us to purchase mannequins that can be used to teach CPR. We also will purchase a variety of airway management type equipment, which are basically it's a mannequin that will allow us to use various tools to insert into the mannequin's mouth for airway management, so we can practice and stay proficient at that skill. It's called intubation, and so that helps us stay proficient at our skill level. But also it's really through training. We use public training as well, and it's also used internally. And we're very excited to get that grant. It's money that will be well spent. And the equipment, it's not new equipment, it's replacing equipment that we've just worn out because we use it so often and there's a demand for that equipment. And we use it and we've worn it out. So now we're going to replace it with new and improved equipment so we can stay proficient.
That's great. Now, is the equipment, is it computerized just to measure the effectiveness of the individual skills when they're doing the intubation or resuscitation?
This particular equipment is not. And I say that because it's only $3,500. And the equipment that you're referring to, anytime you put a computer on it, where it gives you readouts and simulates various medical emergencies, now you're getting into big money.
More than $3,500.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So what's nice about this is that the equipment is portable. We can take it to civic groups. We can take it out to the people to train them. They don't necessarily, it's not restricted to the firehouse. So it's portable equipment, and we can teach these classes just about anywhere.
That's good.
So, and it ties into our mission really of education and prevention. And so we're excited to get that equipment.
And is this applicable for not just adults, but children as well? Or just adults, right?
Most of the time it's young adults.
Young adults.
But we're not going to pass. We're going to turn anybody away. We use it quite often for Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts that are working on their first aid badges. We now incorporate CPR. So if you look at a Cub Scout or a Brownies, I think now it's, what is that? Is that 7, 8 years old?
Something like that, yeah.
So we're teaching CPR really as young as 7, 8 years old.
That is wonderful. Great. Just so excited.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on our agenda now is an opportunity if we have anyone that would like like to address the trustees. This is the opportunity for citizen participation. And what I'd like to just reiterate is whoever has some comments when you step to the podium, if you would state your name and your address, and also requesting those in the audience to abstain from discussing or speaking or talking about anything, because we want to be able to hear the person at the podium. So in due respect, let's abstain from discussion in the audience. So is there anyone in the audience that would like to come to the podium and speak with the trustees? Yes, sir.
I get to come to the podium only because I missed the first part of the meeting. And I was interested in the solid waste proposal. Was there any documentation that you had tonight that I missed that I could get a copy of?
You need your name and address?
Danny McElroy, 1939 Broadhurst Avenue,
Great, thank you.
Cincinnati, Ohio, or Springfield Township, 45240.
Well, yes, sir, to answer your
Can you send me
question.
some documentation?
Chris will.
Yes.
Yes.
You with me after the meeting, I can get you a copy of the PowerPoint. It's actually on our website as well, isn't it, Kim? Okay. We can put the information on our website, or I can actually give you a copy of it, however you.
Give me a copy.
Yeah, I'll talk to you after the meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name, once again, is Jacob Williams. I live at 9530 Costa Drive. And what that does, it abuts the cemetery, Beach Grove Cemetery. And over the amount of time I've lived there, I've grown accustomed to that place, as the song says. It's very close to my heart. I go to the church next door, and what I found out is my time, I'm a volunteer. The word volunteer is a powerful word. I've been doing some volunteer work, and I went out and reached out to the community. There's head football coach at Winwoods High School, head football coach at Princeton High School, superintendent of Princeton schools. They're aware of what my efforts have been, along with the people at the church. And I'll get on with this before it sounds like I'm pounding my chest, because I'm not. These people are dead. They need someone to speak for them. There's a lot of vandalism goes on over there. Trees that we talked about, there's trees over there that could fall on one of these poor guys cutting the lawn and anything. I do want to inject there. The guys have done a great job maintaining the grass. They have done a great job. Matter of fact, they woke me up this morning. But that one time, I don't mind getting awakened to hear those buzzers going on, making sure that cemetery is right. But these coaches that I spoke of, they're willing to take. They got muscle. Between those two football teams, they got plenty of muscle. They can upright some of these gravestones. Again, we don't know what the liability is or whatnot. We don't even know if it's appreciated. I understand there's some technical issues with the, excuse me, but I like to call them Mitt Romney types. I don't swear at anybody, but these technical issues, hey, they're there and they're going to be there. But when you got people that's going to volunteer, 2 football teams, I wouldn't be surprised if they can bring cheerleaders with them too. Well, you know, but all I'm saying is, we know these people are dead. I've personally been over, you know, looking at it. I can count about 125 veterans' graves that are over there. Now you got Arlington National Cemetery, and that's fine. But these veterans' lives is just as, you know, memorable as the ones that's over at Arlington National Cemetery. And I just don't think, this is just me talking now. I just don't think a BS technicality weighs enough of a reason to ignore people that want to help do something for that cemetery. I know the bank home liens is not a BS technicality. Again, all those stories with the bank, I'm not aware of, but I know you all are. And I know you all know there's probably every good reason in the world to let that cemetery keep collecting tumbleweeds like it's been. But as far as I'm concerned, I've done what I could. I've went to my friends, like I said, Coach Parker, Coach Johnson. I've went to my friends, but as far as I'm concerned, if that place collects tumbleweeds, it's going to be over my dead body. And I'll get on out your way.
Mr. Williams, I'm so glad that you're standing here because we have good news. We have been working over the past 2 to 3 years in trying to get that property, acquisition that property, so that we can continue to respect those individuals that are there. And I've played a vital role in that as well. I'm working with Senator Sykes and Senator Kearney, and they did a lot as far as helping us move forward in that particular area. We now, we've gone down through Hamilton County, the court system, the legal system, with prosecutors as well. We now have access to that property. I think, well, I thought we had about 30 days, we'll find out. But we are working on that. And Chris, can you give us an update? Because I'm about 3 weeks behind it, but we're working on that. And I would love to talk with you after this meeting about those individuals that you have standing, waiting to step forward and help us with that.
Yes, thank you, Ms. McFarland. As you mentioned, obviously, there are a lot of things that have been going on with that property which may have impeded individuals' ability to do something with it. Obviously, as a local government, we can't authorize people to go on someone else's property. That's essentially trespassing. We didn't own the property. We still don't, actually, to this day. Ms. McFarland's right. She was very instrumental in getting some laws changed in the state of Ohio that would allow us to sort of take down some of those obstacles, at which point we're just several weeks away from now actually being in ownership of that property and being in a position where we can authorize some of the things that you're asking for, where we couldn't before when we weren't in ownership of it. To the point where we actually had a state law change to allow us to do that. The prosecutor's office right now, just as an update, we're still waiting for the prosecutor's office at the county to actually finalize the deed and do the conveyance to the township. That's where it stands. The Board of Revision has approved the transfer of the property to the township, and we took that through the tax foreclosure process through the Hamilton County Land Bank or Land Utilization Program. And it's, again, a little more bureaucracy and red tape, but the county prosecutor's office is right now, it's at their desk and is waiting for the title to actually be conveyed to the township, at which point we'll be in a much better position to work with you and getting some of the things that you're concerned about addressed.
And their neighbors, your neighbors in that particular area have been involved, and I've been in contact with them as well. And again, I cannot tell you how hard we work collectively as trustees to be able to come in and make changes with that particular problem. And when I stepped out, I said, you know, we've always respected those individuals there. Now we're able to demonstrate how much we respect them because it's our responsibility because we are responsible for cemeteries. But there's some legality and strategic things that we are working through. So I would love to meet with you after the meeting and give you some more information and keep your name on the list because there are other individuals who are interested because it's a historical site and we want to keep it maintained in a respectful manner. And we've also, working with our Road and Service Department, we've reached out to other entities that's going to give us some feedback on how we can continue to enhance the appearance of that cemetery as well. So there's some really promising things that's coming forward, and I think you'll be proud of it as a neighbor. Thank you.
You know, and for anybody that's here that's like thinking, what is this all about? This is the cemetery over on Fleming, and it's been there for a very long time. It was originally established by a group of people who came together to form this association for burial purposes, and they created the cemetery. But a lot of the original members and there was a group of churches that were involved in it. It's all kind of fallen by the wayside to where there was not the kind of oversight and the money and resources going into the upkeep of the cemetery. And so as a township, we have a statutory responsibility to maintain cemeteries in our township. And also because it was the right thing to do, we stepped up a couple years ago and said, what do we have to do to get control of this thing? Because it was a legal quagmire. I mean, Laura looked into it, and there was nobody there was nobody even to give it to us if they wanted to. And so I know, Glenn, you worked hard to get state law changed to where we could be in a position to get the thing deeded to us. There's some blighted properties on, structures on there that we're going to be dealing with. We're trying to get some money from the Emily County Land Bank and to work with raising those. And so again, it's going to be a much better place when we get done.
And it's a team effort, and Laura did it, and I can't tell you how many nights I kept her up, badgering her with questions. And then she also paved the way through the Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office. She opened up some doors that were closed for us. And then when we sat down and we met with Bill Seitz and Senator Kearney and Senator Seitz, the doors continued to open for us. So I'm very optimistic that it won't be long, hopefully, that you'll see a difference in that particular cemetery. And I've also worked with the service department, and they're excited. They're waiting too. So we're just kind of on hold and waiting to exhale, so that we can move forward. Did you want to share?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I had the pleasure of meeting with Mr. Williams a few weeks back, and we walked the cemetery, so I've got his contact information, and we've got a pretty good report that we've developed. So he's more than welcome to reach out to me anytime with questions. I can meet with him, hopefully hit the ground running.
And I've walked it with them several times. So definitely we're going to keep you moving as well.
Well, that's fine. I mean, football season is about to start, and once football season starts, these guys are not going to be available.
Right.
But
you understand we can't have them go on somebody else's property.
I understand. I just wanted to be known that you do have volunteers who are willing to put back and shovel behind what they're saying.
Thank you. Definitely we'll be working with
I'm not trying to say anyone's head should go over it. Maybe you guys can ask Barack Obama what he thinks about it. Come down here and marry somebody in that cemetery.
Well, and we've made contact with families who have loved ones there as well. So we're all waiting, to move forward. And thank you so much for bringing that discussion here tonight to the meeting. So a lot of people don't realize the rich history and culture that we have in that cemetery in Springfield Township. And it actually affects everybody in Springfield Township, not just that particular area. Thank you.
Yes. On this, I just want to say, everybody said a little bit about this happening. I just want to say how far the board went on this, because I don't know if they're touting it more than enough, but we went from a property that was absolutely in disreputable condition, had no verifiable owner. No one owned that. And what happens in the Ohio law with cemeteries, if no one owns it, the township gets it with all its obligations and all its problems by a matter of state law. This property had at the time $250,000 of debt attached to it. So if the property came to the township on that day, and there was a lien for some equipment as well for like $5,000 or something, who puts a lien on a cemetery? But anyway, it had all of that. So the township was going to get that at least $250,000, almost $300,000 in debt, and then have to maintain it, which is a huge financial burden. So instead of taking it that day, which we couldn't do anyway because we had to try to find an owner, we went through this long, involved process of getting the statute changed. Both sites was absolutely wonderful. Eric was absolutely wonderful. So that now any township who has this problem doesn't have to take cemeteries with that huge tax debt. So we're going to get this property when we get it, with the buildings taken down, not at the township's cost, which would have been another $20,000, $30,000. So we're going to get that. It won't cost the township a dime to have done that. We didn't have to do the legal work to sue to get it. So with a lot of sweat and tears and time and talking to a lot of people and getting legislation changed, we're going to get this property, which would have cost us in excess at this point. I don't even know what the taxes are at this point. The last time we looked at all taxes, it's probably in excess of $300,000. I look at penalties and interest and fines. We're going to get that for nothing and have the building get it with the buildings there. So that money can then, instead of being used to pay a past tax debt that wasn't ours, can be used to help. Not that we have that money sitting there, but there'll be money to help work on that cemetery. So once we get ownership, and there's a lot of things that can be done. But what we couldn't do, we really kind of stretched it with what we are doing by maintaining it. I mean, we went about as far as we can go legally since we didn't own it. And there was nobody to contact. There were some really big-hearted people trying to do it, but they couldn't do it. It's a huge task. So I just want everyone to know that this was going to be a $300,000 burden on this township, and now it's a $0 burden. And it's because of a lot of our work.
Zero
going
initial.
forward, yes.
Going forward, it's going to be a huge burden.
Yes, right.
But I know we have a service department that's already taxed to the limit to begin with, and we're adding another, but we have that responsibility under Ohio law, so we'll have a responsibility to maintain it. We sort of have been, I mean, basically, what we're doing is, it's not going to be new for the last 3 or 4 years.
We've been doing it under
Trying to keep it in much better condition.
And there are individuals waiting to see what they can do. No, we just have to get through the legalistic aspects. And I'm so glad you said that, Laura, too, because it not only helped us benefit Springfield Township, but at the state level, other townships and villages that perhaps were dealing with a similar issue, it helped them too. So thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm assuming you have something similar with Smiley Cemetery, which is over on Mill and Fenton. I'm assuming you own that now?
Yes.
Because a new sign came up recently, and I didn't know if the township actually owned it, and they actually put a little piece of fence.
Yes, yes. Smile is a smaller cemetery, but yes, we do. Yeah. Is there anyone else? Thank you. I wanted to, oh, excuse me. So sorry.
I'm sorry, I don't hear very well.
That's okay.
It's been a good meeting, I ain't heard it. My wife, you know, I mean, we just, you know.
And I've been told that
sometimes I hear, sometimes, most times I don't.
I've been told I have a big mouth, so you know, my mouth isn't as large as.
I ain't gonna go there. Anyway, where did I start? Well,
Your name and address.
we had a lady over here for us, huh?
Name and address.
Name and address?
Yes, sir.
Don Guthrie. I live off of Golden 14K Street over here.
Hupo?
Hupo. The old man Hupo owned it when I'm out here. So anyway, we used to take care of a lady up here at Forest Park up here after her husband died. And my wife would take care of her a lot, and I would mow the yards and you know, keep up the outside. And one day she called us up, and she was really excited. Come and see what I got. Well, we went over to see what she had. And she had a little flag out there, a beautician award for her yard. Well, that's neat. And I think that's something that we need here. My wife and I have been putting a lot of time and effort in our place over there. We're over on Brightview. We get a lot of comments quite often. We've got neighbors that come down, oh, I gotta bring my sister down, I gotta bring my cousin. They want to see it, and they look at the front, and they look at the back, and just get, you know, it makes you feel good. I think that we should have something like that going on in our neighborhood also. I mean, this township also, Springfield, just like Forest Park and whoever, the rest of them that does that stuff. I think by us putting that much time and effort in our place to make it look decent, that I've seen a lot of our neighbors are also now trying to improve their places now. It's rubbing off on them, and that's good. And I've seen a lot of things, good and bad, over the past 50 years in that neighborhood since I've been there. And right now, it's a heck of a neighborhood overall. I'm not scared to go to bed at night and leave my doors wide open, you know. I can leave anything in my yard, nobody bothers nothing or anything else. I don't worry about nothing, because I want the neighbors to look out for me, because they know that they all know me, but, you know. So I did here, I don't know, a couple months ago, they came over, sweep our streets. That's the first time they've done that in a couple of ones. I thought that was pretty neat also. I'd like to see just a little bit more of that. Been a long time since I've seen them come out and do stuff that in our neighborhood over there. So, I just thought that would be good, especially when she did that, and we put, like I said, we put a lot of effort in that thing. I just thought it'd be needed. I don't know what's involved in it to have something like that, but I think it'd be worthwhile. I think it'd encourage more people to fix up their places, really, Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. And what you're talking about is a beautification award.
Yeah.
And we'll look into that and see if maybe, we'll look into that to see if maybe there's a way we could have some kind of award like that throughout the township.
I think it'd be neat.
All right.
I
Thank
think
you.
it'd be neat.
Thank you, Mr. Gus.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? I like thoughts like that. I like that. Seeing that there's no one else, and you all have embraced us and spent a nice evening with us, I want to thank you. Thank you for coming to our meeting this evening and also sharing some of your thoughts and concerns. I think the outcome has been really good. We put together a community meeting. We're going to look at beautification in our communities, Mr. Guthrie. And we're going to also update everyone on where we are with the Beach Road Cemetery. So again, thank you very much for attending the meeting tonight with us. Thank you. If you have any questions, I always say, you don't have to wait until we have a meeting. Call us. That's what we're here for. Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Means adjourned.